All right, you're welcome back. It's talk time, and in its quarterly report, the National Bureau of Statistics reveals that inflation rate in Nigeria at the end of the third quarter stood at 18.5%, a situation which has seen the citizens cut their appetite for luxury goods and concentrate only on the basics for their survival.
Now, there are indications that the inflation rate in the country is even much higher at present. Details in this report.
Nigerians have not had it this bad in more than 25 years. The central bank's monetary policy aimed at taming inflation has not been productive, and the purchasing power of an average Nigerian keeps sliding on a downward trend. Lucky Egede owns a chain of supermarkets in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial nerve center. He explains how a retailer calculates inflation.
The ordinary man in the street doesn't understand 17%. He knows that he bought rice 9,000 naira in February, and he has to buy 21,000 naira in July, and his salary has not changed. That's his own calculation of inflation.
Where we supply our products to supermarkets.
Olubu supplies yogurt, shredded meat and kilishi, a form of spicy dried meat, to supermarkets. He wonders how foreign exchange rate would affect the price of a locally sourced commodity.
Like then, I used to buy a cow from the northern states at the rate of 100,000. Cost of transportation, bringing it down here to southwest, is for 5,000 naira. But at present, as I'm talking to you now, things are very hard. Those that sell the cow in the northern state will tell me that things has gone up. I asked a question. I said, look, all these cows, they feed on grass. They tell me they give them vitamins, and most of these vitamins are being produced abroad.
Water is made in Nigeria, but the preform is not made in Nigeria. The labels, most of the things you use to print your label are not from Nigeria. The cap are not from Nigeria. You find this thing has a lot of effect on manufacturing, and it goes down to retail.
But as inflation bites harder, Nigerians resort to their usual ways of adapting. Financial advisors believe there are compelling opportunities that make Nigeria the destination of choice for investors who want to make good returns.
The excitement, the appetite for Nigeria, I haven't seen this in a very long time. People are now very excited to come and invest. So we expect that in the coming quarters, things would probably normalize, and we can probably come back to a more stable inflation environment. And again, companies will start recruiting people, and again, people can have back their lives.
There is hope that the economy will stabilize in the coming quarters, according to experts. The recovery has been hinged on government's commitment to providing the enabling environment. Oluyemi Dada, TVC News.
Well, I wonder if our guest is as hopeful as some of the respondents there in that report are. Well, Shino Olubu is a financial analyst. Is joining us on the show this morning. Good morning.
And he is the head research, growth and development,
yes,
asset management. It's good to have you join us.
Good morning.
Now, the National Bureau of Statistics says that Nigerian families definitely are under pressure, and many families are falling into the poverty line. But of course, the 2017 budget is expected to pull Nigeria out of recession. What are you seeing? What are your projections?
Thank you. Do we start from painting the picture as they are, or you talk about projections in terms of opportunities and what I see in the coming years? Where should we start from? Let's
start from where we are and what
let's start from where we are. The statistics are not, to be frank, telling good stories. The pictures are very there. The last time that inflation figure was a single digit was in January this year, and where we are as at the figure for November tells us that inflation is now 18.48%, and that also incidentally takes the average for this year to 15.38. If you put that beside the average for the year at this time last year, it was 8.35 to 15 point something. That has kind of doubled. Okay, that's one. The second thing we need to also talk about is that the month-on-month increase in inflation that we had the last time was the 13th time that we have month-on-month consecutive increase. Now, so it was important I point that out so that we can see
The difference.
And how low we have come as far as general price level is concerned. Having said that, the issues or the things that are responsible for the increase in inflation are still very strong. The factors that are fueling their strength are still there. They have not gone yet.
What are those
tell us
factors?
about exactly?
The chief of all of those factors is the exchange rate. No thanks to the fact that majority of the things that we demand for are imported. Now, because they're imported, it means therefore that the naira-dollar parity would have to be brought to the bear, and which is, as the last time I checked, the dollar in the parallel market is doing around 480 to 180 naira to a dollar. So, and all of these things are the reason why we have had this inflation rise to the level that we are. So, and if you ask me, the macroeconomic metrics are still say that we are not going to have reversal of trend as far as FX situation is concerned. So it means therefore that the only thing that can make inflation to reduce, which I see I see a slowdown in 2017,
Okay.
not because FX situation will have been reversed, but because of base year effects.
Which would be?
Base year effect means that for every time you are measuring any change, any price change, you are using index, and for any index, what you are doing is to measure change between the current situation and the base year. So this year becomes a base next year.
Okay.
Because we're already high there, so if you are doing comparison between the following year and this year, we might not really have so much of it. I don't know if that sits well with you, if you understand. So right now we are very high. It's not likely that we are going to, even if you are going to have increase in prices of fuel, increase in price of increase in exchange rate, it will be as much as we had this year. So I mean, to that extent, I do not envisage much. I mean, a replica of what we had this year in terms of rising inflation.
Okay. Now, the president has said that the 2017 budget will be a budget of growth and a budget of recovery. Now, 7.3 trillion naira. The way things are right now, what role will this budget do? What role will it play, rather? Or what impact will it have in the scheme of things when it comes to making an improvement of the growth they're talking about?
I'm trying not to use the word that came to my mind. I want to be as mild as possible. But I see the budget, except where it is complemented by other things, particularly private sector investment or private sector credits. I see the budget as being toothless in terms of taking the country out of recession. I'll tell you what I mean. Now, in nominal terms, the budget is supposed, the 2017 budget is supposed to be an increment of around 20%, because if the budget is around is projected to be 7.3 or thereabout, and then the previous budget for this year is 6.06 trillion. Yeah. So that's about a region of, in nominal terms, 20% increase. But if you factor in inflation, which is around 18.48%, what that tells you is that if you index the budget estimate by that inflation figure, it means therefore that net we are going to have, we're likely to have about just this increase. This increase in budget is just about 2%. Which is barely 0%.
Which experts like yourself say technically it's not even an increase.
It's not, that's what I'm saying. That was I said.
Because of the inflation rate.
Because of the inflation rate. Now, if you now bring to bear the FX situation, it's even more damning, because when the budget for 2016 was made, the FX assumption was 197 approximately. Let's even say 200. Now the budget this budget for 2017 is premised on 305. Even you and I know that that's IFM rate. What happens on the streets is as the FX situation has doubled. I mean, the rate has doubled. Different, I would prefer to use 400.
Okay.
To be more realistic, what that tells you is that in real terms, if you divide the budget by the exchange rates and you want to use the rate of the previous budget, it means therefore that just divide this budget by 2. And what you have in real terms is around,
so what we have is about 3.5
or 3.6 trillion, which is far less than what. So in terms of capacity, this 2017 budget has less capacity compared to 2016 budget.
So what does this really reflect in terms of unemployment rate and the instability of the naira?
Well, in terms of unemployment rate and instability of the naira, well, the instability of the naira has to be dealt with quickly. Unfortunately, the marriage of policies that we have had in the inconsistency with which is one of the reasons we do not have the much accretion that we should have as far as hot monies are concerned into the economy because of lack of clarity that people have seen either to. So I do not see the unemployment situation getting better just yet. So because the another effect that like the young man said the other time, the real income has been decimated because particularly because a lot of people's income are still as they were. Sadly, so some years
while
back,
inflation has taken a chunk of it.
So, people are not saving. What they can use, what they can buy in terms of purchasing power has reduced. So maybe you want me to hold my thoughts?
We'll come back to this because I want us to go on a break and then we come back to dwell more on that. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast. We're discussing the inflation rate in Nigeria and the implications for 2017. When we come back, we'll have more.
All right, you're welcome back. We're looking at Nigeria's rising inflation and what impact it could have possibly on the 2017 budget. At this point, well, our guest in the studio, of course, is Olubu. He's a financial analyst. He's been looking at this for us. But let's bring in Foladele.
Let's bring in Foladele to give us a reaction on social media.
Hi,
bags of rice, bags of beans, bags of maize behind everything. It's fine.
Good morning, Oluwasina. Good morning.
Hi.
Okay. Well, like you said, let's see what people are saying online. The senator says inflation will continuously be on the rise. But you said that might not be next year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Okay, next one here. From engineer Ofo Harris, it says, as the Yuletide approaches, inflation is on the rise. Would this ever change in Nigeria? Mommy says 20 liters of palm oil, which is sold for 6,000 naira, is now 18,500 naira. Nigeria inflation rate is on a sharp rise. Charles Chakams says inflation rate is at 18.5% inflation rate at 18.5% in November, the highest level in 11 years and 12th straight monthly rise. Hashtag Nigeria. Lekon Lawrence says, with the rise in inflation and the economy in recession, Nigeria's middle class is gradually becoming extinct. Hashtag save the middle class. I want to take you up on that.
Was there a middle class in the first place?
What do you think of this tweet? He says, or what do you think about this tweet rather? He says, with the rise in inflation and an economy in recession, Nigeria's middle class is gradually becoming extinct.
Well, I do not want to use the word extinct. Because, by the way, middle class can be classified into structure. We have the upper, we have
the middle, lower middle, and lower.
Now, but what the trend that I've seen in the last few years or thereabout is there's this pressure, I'll call it sucking pressure that wants to bring the people who are in the middle class to the lower class. So there's a struggle for those who are the borderline. So with this inflation situation right now, a lot of people who in their minds think that they are in the middle class, in actual terms,
they've sunk down.
are actually sunk down into the lower class, because the hallmark of having money is what you can buy. So where what can be bought with a particular income level, some years back or just last year was 4, and then the same income can only buy 2. Come on, you are not the same person that you used to be.
I appreciate you breaking that down.
Let me scare you a little, especially speaking for the ladies. For those of you gentlemen who like women with the makeup and everything, Fola, do you know that as of early this year, 2016, a foundation, makeup foundation.
That's
not foundation as a
yes,
foundation
pancake,
on the face.
or potty, according to some people.
Pancake,
cost
like something.
6,500.
Okay.
I checked only yesterday. It's gone up to 24,000.
Okay.
It's totally insane. And yes, indeed, in our minds, some of us actually think we're still up.
And
what can the righteous do with the foundation?
And part of the scary thing there is somebody is going to bear the burden of that cost.
Yes, okay.
Who is this person, Mike?
Yeah, you know.
Who are these people that will
well, I didn't see anything. Fola, thank you very much for that.
Much.
Yeah. All right, now, Shina, let me come to someone mentioned the Yuletide there. Now, we know that when we get into the month of December, there are lots of economic activity. People are rushing to get this done, get that done, just to have fun. But we know that money is exchanged hands more during this period. What impact would that have on the situation of things? Would it make it better, or would it worsen things off?
Yeah, by the way, I expect the inflation figure for December to be slightly higher than what we have right now. It's
Why
typical
okay.
because some people would buy things that ordinarily they could say no to in other months that they are compelled to buy. Some expenses are begging, and because they are begging, some will have to save to meet those expenses, while some will have to borrow to buy those. Whichever way, they're still going to be, they are still going to expend. And when they expend, because things have not changed, and it is typical for us to have some prices uptick in December. So I expect those to feed into the inflation figure for December by the time the figures will come up.
In spite of the fact that many holiday makers, people coming back home, coming in with their dollars, and you have more dollars in the system, shouldn't that play some kind of positive role?
No. The dollar thing is supposed to feed into whatever is being imported. And do not forget that a lot of people will have stocked up the product that they are going to sell. And because they are aware that it is normal for us to have excess demand typically in this, but for what is happening right now, because a lot of people say that there's no money to spend, which is why I said in some other fora some few weeks ago that the inflation that we are currently experiencing is not a monetary phenomenon, and that is why raising rates would not solve the problem. Because you are raising rates in order to reduce the flow of money into the economy. And which is not what we have. That's not the problem we have right now.
Of course, the MPC did not change. They didn't change
so
it.
Because money supply isn't the issue. It is structural. It is a structural problem. It has to do with the fact that the things that we produce, do we even produce? And then it relates to the fact that we bring in products, and some of these things are so compelling that they have to be consumed. Because they have to be consumed, people go out of their way to perhaps the idea thing should be talking about what are some of the things that should be done. I don't know.
Absolutely, maybe cutting interest rates like some are already asking for, as it's affecting the manufacturing sector. Is there a need for a look again at the interest rate and bringing it down? Will that help?
I have my reservations about that. Even though theoretically that should have been the ideal thing, but we have a very weak transmission mechanism in our monetary environment, and that's because a lot of people operate outside the monetary transmission mechanism, such that if you raise rates, the effect, so if you reduce rate, the effect that it's going to have, is not
minimal.
It won't be as much as the basis, the number of basis increase that you have in the reduction in rate, because a lot of people still operate in the black economy. So because of that, it might not really have as much effect as it should have, and that will be productive to what CBN is trying to do in terms of bringing in hot monies from the foreign portfolio investments. Because right now, even with the with 14% MPR and inflation rate of 18.48, what that tells you is that the real return on investment is negative. It is minus 4.48. That's what it means. It means that if I'm bringing in money into the economy, in nominal terms, maybe I'm getting 14%, but in real terms, what I'm getting is minus 4.8.
All right, going
minus 4.48.
Okay, going into the new year, the president has said that there's going to be more focus on made in Nigeria, trying to patronize made in Nigeria products and all of that. How will that help in true terms?
Okay, maybe your question should just make me go into what are possible
what can we do, because we're rounding up.
Number one, because I want to discount that first. Let me go. Number one thing is value reorientation, socially and economically. And by value reorientation, I mean that we need to have changes in our consumption pattern and our tastes. Now, how willing are Nigerians to buy made in Nigeria beyond the lip service that we all pay to it, including the leadership? And the leadership has a lot of role to play. When I say leadership, I mean the political class has a lot of role to play in this regard. Now, beyond telling people to do made in Nigeria products, how much of made in Nigeria product has been done by products have been done by the political class, or the government officials by themselves? So if they can walk the talk by doing this, I see Nigerians falling in line. But it's hypocrisy if you tell Nigerians to do made in Nigerian product and then you fly abroad to go and treat a headache. That's one. Then number two is let's have a robust combination of export promotion and import substitution. It's not enough for you to just place ban on rice and car used cars. Now I appreciate what informed wanting to ban used cars, because there was one fantastic policy on automobile policy that was brought about by the immediate past administration. Yes. I read the document, very lovely. Now, but the would-be investors came around and said that, how do we come into play here? When, if I produce in Nigeria, I have to sell for as high as, say, 5 million. Which rational consumer will want to buy from me at 5 billion when I can buy used grade A, for say 1.2 million,
or 2.5 even,
or 2.5 million even. So government had to say, okay, we are going to incentivize what you are doing. Let's discourage used cars by raising the duty. Now they raise the duty. The second leg,
70%.
So the second leg is not addressed. So I would have thought that when you are doing it, it has to be pilots, like ensure that you ramp off. Let's even have some of these products on ground. Let's know that the new cars produced in Nigeria are there before you now go on to.
So that there's something to fall back on.
They thought, and that goes. Then it goes with rice. Don't just ban. Try to encourage the local production, put in place the right infrastructure, give them tax incentive, let them want to play in this, so that people will come in and invest. The third thing perhaps that has to be done is let's wrap up our refining capacity, because up to 70% of our dollar demand goes to importing fuel. Why we have, if anything should be banned at all, it's importation of fuel, not cars, because we don't produce cars. We don't have the resources to just yet. We don't. We have oil. So for me, that should be a low hanging fruit compared to other things. The third thing that probably should be done is to index salaries of people and wages of people to inflation, so that the labor union does not have to call the government to
Talk
increase
about minimum wages.
Minimum wages. The numbers just throw it up. That okay, we have indexed this to inflation. So by the time it gets to the threshold, everybody knows that there has to be a discussion around the table. It's not somebody is not at the mess. So nobody is coming to the table from the position of weakness. Everybody is coming because the situations on ground have said that we should come and the last thing perhaps I should say, because some of these things seem like they are long time thing, is the low hanging fruit should probably be let the government put in place things that will boost confidence of the international community, so that when they bring in their foreign portfolio investment, foreign direct investment, we can have temporary relief and stop the bleeding by getting
so the word
dollars.
Is incentive. All right.
Whoa. Oluwasina, Olubu, thank you very much for giving us all the breakdowns, all the figures, making them as simple as possible for all of us to understand. Thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure.
Thank you. All right, this is where we come to the end of today's edition of the program. It's been a lovely morning. And
Mike, by this time tomorrow, I want to see you wearing a Nigerian tie, made in Nigeria.
Made in Nigeria, okay. I'll try to.
Yeah, a direct tie.
Trust me, I can fly to Aba and be back in a day. You know that. You trust me on that. All right, thank you very much. Tomorrow will be another time for us to dwell more on other issues that affect Nigeria and even Africa as a whole. I am Mike Okwache. You can follow me for updates around Nigeria, Africa, and the world on my Twitter handle using at @MOkwacheTVC.
And I'm Ngozi Alebu, wishing you the very best of the season. You can also follow me at Ngozi Alebu TVC. Let's do it again tomorrow. Bye now.